Man, I haven't made a YouTube video in what feels like forever. But today I decided to record something because I thought it was kind of cool. As usual, it's always something to do with Legos. Speaking of things that has been a while, I just realized I've had this transmission for 3 years. And well, that was 2023, almost. Only like a quarter of the way through 2026 right now. But I bought this 5-speed from Green Gecko Workshop down in New Zealand. But then he decided to put out some more stuff. So I bought this, a 4-speed automatic, which is really cool because, well, yeah, that spring there, that's actually what shifts. And if you notice in the back, there's a little shifting bushing moving back and forth. And here you can kind of see both of them, that little orange shifter. And the way it works is actually really clever. So it uses this new style differential with the slightly older red gear. And the LOC input, it only turns one way, because if you turn it this way, it doesn't work. It's stuck in 4th gear, which is actually right there. But what this does, unlike the 5-speed, where you have to like 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, the 4-speed does it by itself. Kind of like Lego CVTs. Instead of using rubber bands, got this soft spring. I did swap it out from the hard one a while ago, but specifically for this video, because it actually makes what I'm about to do work. And you take the input side, when you apply power to it, it spins in 4th gear, but when you apply resistance to it on the output shaft, it rotates the differential because the output is stuck. And what that does, when the differential rotates, the shift indicator that runs to the spring, it compresses the spring, and what it does, it's supposed to downshift, and now it's in 3rd. If you keep turning with more resistance on the outside, it will go into 2nd, like it is here. And if you keep turning still, it goes into 1st. It's not quite in 1st. And one thing that kind of bugs me about it, it does skip around, and it also does slip. So I did the obvious thing and bought another transmission. I bought a 6-speed. Now, if I remember correctly, this is actually someone else's design. But as usual with most of my projects, I've modified it. And keen-eyed viewers will notice that there is an extra gear. Right here is the added reverse. And it's up and to the left like a Porsche or Toyota. And the rest is still the same 6 gears. But it has the additional reverser on here, these 3 gears, which we'll use later. And actually it's pretty cool. And I've extended the front shaft so it can run all-wheel drive. I wanted to add a center diff so it's kind of like a Subaru. You don't get binding, but I haven't really figured that part out yet. But one thing I did figure out a while ago, because Legos are so modular, and apparently so are Green Gecko designs, I turned my 2-cylinder into a 3-cylinder. Because actually here's the 2 cylinders engine cover, but I just added the 3rd cylinder on there. So it fires 1, 2, and 3 like that. And the cool thing about this guy, and well, the 4-speed, they actually bolt up perfectly. Doesn't really look like it, but if you take this short input shaft out, you actually look at it, you meet them in the middle, it's actually the perfect length. So what you would do, bring these two together, and the way I had it on my truck that I showed at least a month ago, the transmission was rotated 90 degrees like that to get a flat bottom. So it could sit like this. But the problem is, these back gears that run off of 1st and 3rd, they're rubbing against the ground. So I turned it back. Then that raises the engine by 1 stud. But another thing, these rotate. So what you do for that, this top piece, you pop a pin there and a pin on the bottom. And those will perfectly line up with the bottom. The only real issue with the 4-speed is that, unlike a manual, it doesn't have a neutral. So that means if this is connected to power, you suddenly stop applying it, because the connection between this gray gear right here and this twin on the bottom to this differential is so weak. When you turn this, you get that annoying clicking that stuff like the Lego Defender had. and it's slipping. And then now this is in the wrong spot. It doesn't go into the right gear. So I needed a solution if I wanted to make a vehicle work, because you can't just, well, actually you can, it's a pneumatic motor. You can turn it off and on like a locomotive. They don't have transmissions, but you can just stop and go whenever you want. But with a normal vehicle that goes on the road, you kind of need something that can, well, break it up, like a clutch. I was looking at designs on how to make one, and I tried making a traditional pressure plate like what's in a car, a manual, but I actually landed on something different. I'm not sure if anyone else has done some Lego yet, but what I did, I took this little guy, gave it a friend, then took 3 of these little friction pins. Let's see if those are aligned. Yep. Drop that in. Drop this guy in. Then the 3rd one. Now the reason I did 3 is because it is a little bit better than 2. It gives you more friction, which is important for later. And the reason I have the 6-speed, I'm just going to steal the reversal gears. Not like any of those. And pop these guys on here. Now the thing with friction pins is that these won't really rotate as easily as the non-friction pins, which are used on this transmission. Like, not this side, but the other side, that little tan piece, that is a friction pin. Because these shafts, they spin at different speeds when the transmission's operating. Same for this side, because you could just rotate this little guy in here. And that's what's important when it comes to making things kind of smooth. You want them to be able to spin at different speeds, but still engage. And I use this shaft to hold this side, but then you still need a 4th 8-tooth gear. So you put down another shaft, and I'm going to demonstrate what this could do. So, because of the friction of these pins, when everything's balanced, like the 4-speed, it turns as one unit. I'm actually holding it with my other hand, but it's still turning. But if you add more friction, these release and slip. But the second you let go, it keeps rolling. So this is kind of like a mechanical version of a fluid coupler in a normal automatic, like a ZF8 speed or what Lexus is using, which is why those transmissions are so smooth when they get rolling. And I realized after dropping it on my 5-speed for some weird reason, I'm always doing odd stuff with this, like on the bottom, if you really want to, you take one of those gray gears, you put it on the, like, you take this one, put it over on the side, run a shaft, and you have all-wheel drive for it. Actually, heck, you can fit like a tiny weird clutch in here. You get power distribution as well. But with this guy, I realized if you can slip it when it stops, you don't have to break a transmission anymore. Not that this is broken, but it just slips out of place and it's really annoying. Like when I was testing this guy in the truck I built. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to disassemble this for the 4 millionth time. You take the differential off, you set this back to here, so it's kind of like an L shape. Then the differential should be level across. Pop that on. If it doesn't pop on, you gotta like rotate the back half, which is actually the strong part of the transmission. It can handle speed and torque. It's just that because of the weak spring, or actually any spring, it likes to stay in anything below 4th, so it normally just locks itself in 3rd. But the cool thing about this transmission is made up of these plates. There's also, so there's one here. These are double beams. There's one here as well, and one here. Now, one thing about the transmission, because it's made up of these plates, they only hold it together with like friction with the pins, which like to bend. And heck, even this one's cracked. So I came up with a solution for that too. So I'm going to further disassemble this. See if I can get to it. This little 3-stud long pin right here. What I'm going to do there, I'm going to attempt to like get this out. Actually, I just pulled this one. Pulled this guy, which took the pin with it. Nice. Then what I want to do, pop this little guy back on. And this little guy. Like that, so it's back. It's loose now, but I'm going to have a reason for that in a little bit. Then what you do from there, the front one has the same thing, holding it together. So you take that off, take that guy out, and boom. but I actually don't have an extra one of these in gray, so this is going to be moved to the front. So I borrowed the black one. What I'm going to do, just duplicate this design right here, which is a bunch of these little guys, these little bushings that love to crack. You line it up on the bottom. I'm actually going to turn this outward to make my life easier in a few seconds. There's another one. Almost dropped that. Take more of these friction pins. You put it on the right side. Like that. Then it is really like complicated to try and do it, but you turn this back. You take this guy. You can take one of these. I believe this is a 7-stud long black module all over the place in Lego. Take a second one of these, put it on the top. You're going to push it all the way through, so there's 1 stud on top. And what you want to do, I did forget one of these. It goes on the top because it's got to hold the gear indicator right there. Drop this little guy on like that. And one more thing, gonna take this little guy, put it on the top as well. The thing with this, it's just all the same parts. This is a gray plate, but they're just blacked out. There is some part swapping that has to happen though. So this little guy right here, this actually holds the bottom shifter, the shaft. It's actually attached to the barrel shifter, and putting it above there, make sure it doesn't go past 4th gear and slam into 4th, because that would honestly really suck. So you pop this pin out, drop it into the new one. I believe it was right there. Yep, lines up. And some more part swapping is gonna happen. Gotta take this little guy. You take the blue pin out because you're gonna extend the transmission by a little bit. It's getting a 5th plate. Then this guy as well. Pop that on. This guy as well. You pop this piece out. And the differential should be able to go back on. Like that. Then this plate drops on. It should hold itself in place from the pin over here. And what you want to do, take 3 of these little modules, well, 3 stud long shafts, drop them on into these. The other side doesn't have one up here because, well, the diff is in the way. But then next what you want to do, this little guy from earlier, this clutch, pop the back shaft out, take one of these 3 stud long modules, make sure it's like flush with the surface of that, so that way the input shaft doesn't sink in and like grab the little plus shaped piece, because then it'll just lock up, which isn't the end of the world, but then it doesn't work. So you put this guy in like that. It can still turn. If you turn it hard enough, it will try and pop itself in a third. Then next what you want to do, take 3 more of these little pieces like that. One kind of annoying thing I did notice about this redesign that I did, this is only floating and it's attached to a diff, which is wobbly because there's spider gears in there, and they don't really have all the support in the world, so it does wiggle. But then the same also goes for the input shaft, which is only held on this side by the front plate. And what that means is that it can also wiggle when attaching. So it's a little bit annoying. But here's the reason I chose 3. 3 will hold this little guy in just fine. If I can actually sync them all up. There we go. And the thing is, with these 3 pins and gears, it's a 1-to-1 gearing. It doesn't change anything. But what it does change is that it can still hold the fact that, like, alright, misspeaking, but it still holds torque, so it works, but at the same time, you're giving yourself a mechanical neutral without having to do anything crazy. Then the next step, I want to say, adding these pins. I feel like I forgot something. Oh, actually, I did. There's a fourth one of these little 2-stud connectors that needs to go in. Right there. Then these two also get the friction pins. Like this. Oh, and the reason I took 3-stud shaft out, I'm going to replace it with a 4-stud, which actually pokes out the top, which is exactly what you want. One thing that happens when you pair it to the 2-cylinder, or well, 3-cylinder now, it likes to split right here like that. So one thing I've noticed, this perfectly sized 5-stud long piece drops on. It does like to push the pin down, which is why I didn't drop it all the way. The front one doesn't for some reason. But then you put a second one on, holds it just fine. And now, it doesn't come apart. And the cool thing about the front one is sunken in a little bit, but you take that piece out with a differential, you can push it up, no problem. Now it's flush. Drop this guy back in. Then what you want to do, the front plate from earlier, I got lazy, so I'm using another 4-stud pin without anything to really hold it. Okay, that's kind of loose. But then you drop this guy on, provided the middle gear is actually in there. And yeah, you effectively just extend the transmission. And the cool thing is, because this is the original front plate, it still mounts up to the engine just fine. And input shaft still works. It is really long though, like almost the same length as the engine, kind of. But what I've done now, everything still spins, but when you add resistance, if you look really closely at this front piece, these gears orbiting around like in a planetary gearbox, what they do, they will slip and they'll let the input shaft keep turning, provided there's nothing on, well, provided there is something on the output. It still is turning really slowly, which proves how much torque it can handle, but it means you're no longer slipping this differential with these gears. And actually, if it's done right, I know there's a way you can get the output to turn this little planet carrier kind of, so it actually still runs. But it still shifts gears, it still gets the job done. I haven't really tested it yet, but just from messing around with it, it can put out a lot of force despite still slipping, which, mind you, is in first gear. You can turn this guy all the way here and then hold it. As you see, these output gears that work with first, the bottom two are for second and fourth, is still turning, but the front is slipping. So it's almost like, maybe not a manual, but somewhere just using a clutch to get around. But what I'm going to do now, pop this guy out. I'm going to put these pins back in. There's another thing I like to do. So the engine has a little mounting spot on this side where you can put this little guy. If I can just remember where it goes though. You may want to turn the engine to help sync everything up. And it goes right here. But you put it on the engine rather than the transmission because that helps hold it. You want to pop this guy here. That's the very bottom hole. And connect it. Just be careful not to like bend anything because it will break. It's not going to be happy. I believe I did forget a few pieces to like balance out the 1-stud gap still from the floor. But other than being a little bit longer and probably heavier because I haven't weighed it yet, what you can do now, you can turn the motor and then say it's like stuck or you want the vehicle to stop, apply the brakes like an automatic. And well, the engine can keep running. You don't have to start and stop it over and over again. And that's how you get a cool mechanical neutral. And just to end Wow, still didn't fix that. But just to end off the video, once again, thanks for watching. Even though I haven't uploaded in forever. But honestly, I hope you find this video interesting.